Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and this week we are doing Christmas movies. And so today we are doing the 2022 film Violent Night. Here is your trivia question for today. What is the name of the catering company in this film? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So, at the beginning of our film, we find out that Santa Claus is in fact real. Although Santa is getting a bit fed up with how things are nowadays for Christmas. For instance, all kids seem to want now is cash. So he plans that this will be his last year. We then hop over to the Lightstone Mansion in Connecticut. It's here that we meet Jason, his daughter Trudy, and his somewhat estranged wife Linda. We also end up meeting Jason's sister Alva, her son Bert, who apparently wants to be a social media star, and her boyfriend Morgan Steele, who is a failed actor. Last but certainly not least, we have Gertrude Lightstone, the overbearing matriarch of the family, who is hosting the annual Christmas party for her family. Now, all of a sudden, during the festivities, a man who goes by the alias Scrooge has decided to come in and take the party over, and as it turns out, the catering crew are actually his mercenaries that are now holding the family hostage and getting as much money as they can from Gertrude. And of course, as it just so happens, guess who also is in the house at this time eating up some milk and cookies? That's right, it's Santa Claus. So, unfortunately, due to some of the gunshots, Santa's reindeer fly off into the night, leaving him here stuck at the mansion. And after a few run ins with some of the mercenaries, Santa's had quite enough. So, with a little help from Trudy, Santa is now beginning to cross some names off of his naughty list. This movie was directed by Tommy Wirkola. The concept for this film was essentially just what if Santa was in a Die Hard slash Home Alone style movie. Speaking of Die Hard, one of the characters in this film is named Thorpe, which is also the name of Roderick Thorpe, who wrote the book Nothing Lasts Forever, which is what Die Hard was based on, and of course, Die Hard was a big inspiration for this film. Another reference to Die Hard in this film is when John Leguizamo's character of Scrooge is asking who this guy is. Perhaps he's some security guard who watched too many action flicks, which is a direct reference to Die Hard where Hans Gruber says that John McClane must be another American who saw too many movies as a child. There's also a reference toward Stranger Things, as Scrooge also asks if perhaps he's a small town cop with 5 kids, which is, of course, a reference towards David Harbour's character of Chief Hopper. If you weren't aware, the character of Gertrude is played by Beverly D'Angelo, who also has, of course, a connection to a very well known Christmas movie, as she plays Ellen Griswold in a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Also, speaking of actors appearing in other Christmas movies, Stephanie Sy, who played Sugar Plum, and John B. Lowe, who played UK Mall Santa, have each been in 16 different Christmas movies as of this film. Here's some interesting information about the characters and actors for Alva and Morgan Steele. Alva is played by Edie Patterson, who is actually essentially playing the same character she does in the television series The Righteous Gemstones. Now, Cam Giganden's character of Morgan Steele is actually supposed to be a caricature of actor Mark Wahlberg. Now, here are some things you may or may not have noticed in the film. For instance, Trudy's nice list consists of keeping her room clean, listening to her parents, being kind to animals, being sweet to everyone, and inviting the weird kid to a party. Now, in case you didn't catch all of them, here are all of the Christmas aliases that the mercenaries use in the film: Scrooge, Gingerbread, Krampus, Candy Cane, Frosty, Tinsel, Jingle, Peppermint, and Sugar Plum. Did you happen to notice near the beginning of the film, when Santa is getting fed up with Christmas, one of the houses he visits has a bunch of Amazon packages under the tree, and they're specifically all flipped over so they all have frowny faces? There have definitely been talks of doing a Violent Night 2. In the sequel, they're apparently going to have more connection to the North Pole, specifically with Santa's workshop and the elves, and apparently they're planning on bringing in Mrs. Claus. David Harbour has said he would love to have Charlize Theron play Mrs. Claus. So when it comes to the film Violent Night, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It absolutely harkens back to classic action films like Die Hard, and it definitely lives up to the name of Violent Night. So I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. And if you also enjoyed this film, some other movies I would recommend checking out are the Die Hard series, Fat Man, The Ref, and the Home Alone series. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, what is the name of the catering company in this film? So, the name of the catering company is Farkas and Dill, and those names should sound familiar to you, especially if you've seen the movie A Christmas Story, as Farkas and Dill are the names of the two bullies that appear in that movie. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.